Hello, everyone. How are you today? My name is Ida. I started this channel because I wanted to build a community of like minded people who wanted to challenge themselves to have a breakthrough year 2022. I challenged everybody to set some goals, just like I'm about to do. And I hope that everybody's enjoying the process. Um, Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share one of my goals, and also I'm going to share with you 10 tips on how we can accomplish our goals. Okay. So, um, for the longest time, as long as I can remember, I wanted to make handbags, right? That was like my thing that I wanted to do. So, maybe like 3 years ago, I decided, okay, I'm just going to take one of my bags apart and I'm going to start making it. I'm gonna start making the bags. So I did. I do have some experience because I do sew. So I had some confidence in my skill. So that's what I started to do. So I took the bag apart and I started to put it back together. And I remember taking it to work and somebody really admiring it and they couldn't believe that I made it. And that's how my business started to kind of take off a little bit, right? So I started to sell my bags and it started to take off, but I never really had the courage to really put my bags online. I always said I wanted to do it, but I never did. So mostly my business was word of mouth or yeah, if somebody else knew about it. And I think I had a few parties and I went to a fair, but I never really made it like a formal business. So that is the one thing that I want to challenge with all of you today. So I hope that you have an opportunity to um, print the goals worksheet. And also today I'm also going to be adding these 10 tips on um, how to achieve our goals. Okay. So yeah, so back to my story. So I really wanted to start a website, right? So this is what I'm really going to be challenging this time. So I wrote down 10 tips on how I was going to accomplish this, right? I'm going to do all the 10 tips, and then, like I said, I'm going to put them in the description. So if you're not writing notes, it's definitely going to be there so that you can refer to it. So the first thing that I think is important is to just pick one thing, right? So the one thing that I'm going to challenge is, of course, to get a website up and start selling my bags on the internet somehow, right? And I'm only going to choose that one for now because I really need to build like a little confidence that I can, and I want to see something to completion, right? So that's something else that we should really think about is like, let's pick something that we can actually see to its completion. Because I know many of us set very long term goals. I know I have goals for next year and 2 years and 4 years, right? So this is something that I can actually measure and see. Number two is set a date by which you want to complete this goal. So I chose July 4th of 2022. That's the day that I said, okay, no matter what, that's the day that I can definitely commit myself to do it, and I have plenty of time, right? And I that's the date that I set. The third thing that I said is I'm going to break down the necessary tasks into actionable steps. Like, what is it that I have to do? So, I know that many of you have different kinds of goals. So, I know for a fact that my actionable steps are going to look very different to from everybody else's, right? So, if you're losing weight, you would have to, like, go shopping, make a list of all the things you do, and also you have to choose a diet. If you're going to do a workout, when are you going to work out? When is it feasible for you to actually do it? So all of those are actionable steps that you can start putting into place in order to achieve your goals. Number four is to check in with a success team. So, up until now, I haven't really talked about a success team, but I think it's important to join with other people who are maybe challenging something that you are, or maybe if even if they're not challenging something that you are, just someone who is on your team who is going to be encouraging you. And that's somebody who you could check in, or someone who you can say, listen, I'm stuck. Is there anything that, can you help me? Or can you just come over? Can you take the walk with me? Or, can you look at these pictures and tell me which ones you like, right? You always need someone to be able to be there. I think during the pandemic, we definitely learned how much we need each other, right? Like we did learn how to be really super independent, but I think we also learned how interconnected we are, and therefore we really need to reach out to other people, right? So if you need them, they definitely need you. So reach out and find the success team, right? The fifth thing that I said that we have to do is to set a checkpoint. So at some point, you can do it weekly, but I set a midpoint, right? So my midpoint is June 8th. So that's the day that I'm going to be looking to see like how far I've come, how close I am, because then at that point, I know that I'm at the midpoint. And maybe if I started dragging a little, maybe I can start like pushing myself, or maybe check in with my success team and say, well, listen, these are the things that I haven't done, just keep me, responsible, um, keep me honest about what it is that I'm trying to accomplish, right? So, because you're sharing goals, right? The sixth thing that I said you have to do is check in with your success team again, right? So just say, listen, I'm at the midpoint. I'm doing really well. If you're doing really well, celebrate. If you're not doing so well, maybe you just need to step away from it for a second and then come back to it, right? Maybe you need to have, a glass of seltzer together, whatever it is that you do together, and then maybe talk about it a little more, or maybe you need to do a little bit more research or sharpen your skills about it a little better, and then just come back to the goal. The seventh thing that I said we have to do is continue to work on actionable steps, right? So if there are more steps that you need to take in order to accomplish that, then definitely do it, right? So those are the things you're just going to continue. You're not going to forget. Normally, what we do is because there's no actionable steps, we're not moving forward. So we just basically stop, and then there's nothing else to do, and before you know it, it's the midpoint, it's the end point, and you're not getting anything done. The seventh thing that we have to do, oh, and this is like a really, really wonderful thing to do, is to help out a success team member. At this point, right, you're probably working on your goals so long, or maybe whatever it is that you're working on is probably getting to you, and maybe you're not moving forward as fast as you want. It's a great thing to just like move away, step away from, your own goals, and start helping someone out with theirs, right? It's always fun to help somebody else out when, because you step out of your own zone, and you're able to like really reach out to someone, and that's always fun to do, right? So you can do that step many times. You don't have to necessarily wait until the end, but when you're getting close to your goal, sometimes you get a little stuck, or you're not really sure which way to go, or you get scared, or whatever the case may be, and then it's a good thing to have other people to really sound off with, right? Thinking partners. Um, the eighth thing to do, I said, is to stay focused but flexible, right? So life happens. We already know, right? Like many things happen that you really can't account for, right? So, at that point, instead of, just throwing everything up in the air and saying, you know what, forget it, I knew I was never going to get it accomplished, that's the time that you just got to be like, well, listen, you know what? I still have a few more weeks to go, or I'm doing really well. And you just got to stay focused, but you have to stay flexible because life will happen. And sometimes, sometimes you might get a cold, sometimes you might have a headache, sometimes you're just tired, right? And maybe that day you just don't want to do anything. And that's got to be okay. You have to stay flexible. And then I think it's step number 10. Number 9 is to continue to work on your actionable steps, right? Make sure that you always have something to do towards your goals. For me, it's going to be to make bags, to make sure that the pictures are getting online, to make sure that that I'm pricing them correctly, to make sure that I have the fabrics and if I'm going to continue to sell, that particular bag. And then I think number 10 is celebrate your success, right? So it's like at 10, you're just like, oh my goodness, I'm actually here, right? So every little step that you take, you should really be celebrating yourself, right? You're gaining confidence and you're celebrating yourself. So definitely tell yourself congratulations. So, beautiful people, at this point, I would love it if all of you were uh, clicking on like and subscribing for sure. And you're definitely sharing with someone else. I'm going to make sure that in the description, I'm going to put this list on the description. And I'm also going to continue to add the worksheet that I put together for us so that we can keep that always close so that we're always thinking about our goals. Okay. So if there's anything that you want to ask, please share with me. I am dying to hear what everybody is challenging. I really am. So please like, subscribe, share, and I will see you in the next video.